Still looking at me.
What's up, guys? It's Mighty, back into another reaction video. I am just chilling right now and just resting because you wouldn't believe the day when I had to deal with. And of course, I do need to get some rest, but I don't think I'm not quite tired yet, so I still got a little energy to do another reaction video. So actually, let me recorrect myself. I got another requested video from Storm Shadow, and he wants me to react to top 10 wrestling controversies. You know, it's been a while that for the past few years that I've seen some, wrestlers to basically portray of a role, because it is just a show, and there are some things that goes unexpectedly, and shit just goes sideways, that just become an issue. So maybe this clip will help me to refresh my memories exactly what these well-known pro wrestlers did, and see who reached to the number one. So without further ado, it's time to react.
You know, they say wrestling is fake, but sometimes things get a little too real. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 wrestling controversies. For this list, we've selected the most shocking and unbelievable real-life moments and controversies to take place in the world of professional wrestling. Number 10, Sting vs. Jeff Hardy. At TNA's Victory Road pay-per-view in 2011, two icons, Sting and Jeff Hardy, were set to fight. The problem? Jeff Hardy was looking at drug charges, and after disappearing for a few hours before the fight, showed up allegedly so messed up on something he could hardly stand, let alone fight, in his long-awaited match with Sting. What followed was one of the most uncomfortable moments in wrestling, as Hardy, visibly intoxicated, staggered into the ring. Sting was clearly upset, but not as upset as the fans, who booed loudly as the match ended in about a minute and a half. Number 9, Muhammad.
I apologize for pausing already, but Jeff was high as hell. And he just literally just went on the stage, went on the ring, and just basically just tried to stay focused, but he's too fucked up. And not to mention, I should also wanted to state that he recently just got arrested for the driving under the influence. So not again.
Muhammad Hassan. Mark Kopani, aka Muhammad Hassan, was a talented wrestler who portrayed a man of Arab descent during his brief tenure in the WWE in the mid-2000s. At the time, fear and xenophobia following the events of 9/11 was still high, so Hassan's debut was met with heat from mainstream media. Things escalated exponentially when, at a SmackDown taped in July 4th, 2005, Hassan knelt down to pray and let his masked henchmen take on The Undertaker. 3 days later, the London subway bombing terrorist attacks made this entire storyline seem in even worse taste, and Hassan's character was ultimately scrapped. Ironically, he was actually Italian-American. Number 8, the Matt Hardy, Edge and Lita love triangle. In the early 2000s, Matt Hardy and Lita were dating, both on screen and IRL. However, mid-decade, an affair between Edge and Lita began, and things got heated backstage. The story made its way into the ring, and Matt Hardy was fired, wrestling independently for a while before being brought back to the WWE to engage in a feud with Edge over Lita. Things culminated in a brutal cage match at Unforgiven 2005, where Matt Hardy finally got his revenge. With their real-life animosities, it's a wonder the two didn't murder each other in the ring. Number 7, Steroid Trial. Professional wrestling and pro sports in general have always been a hotbed of steroid scandal, but things initially came to a head for the WWE in the early 90s, when Vince McMahon was indicted in federal court due to a series of allegations concerning the distribution of steroids among wrestlers. The prosecutor had a star witness, Hulk Hogan, but at the last minute the Hulkster flip-flopped and stated that Vince had never provided him with drugs. Since 1994, the WWE has been under close scrutiny concerning steroids, but unfortunately, that hasn't stopped several tragedies from occurring. Number 6. Mass Transit Incident. In an ECW house show in 1996, Axel Rotten and New Jack were supposed to square off in a tag team match. When Axel no-showed, a massive 350-pound man going by the name of Mass Transit, claiming to be of age and to have been professionally trained as a wrestler, offered to substitute. Turns out he was only 17, and New Jack beat the living hell out of him with a toaster and crutches before blading him in the middle of the ring and prompting paramedics to arrive. Mass Transit's family eventually tried to sue ECW, unsuccessfully.
What was he thinking?
Number 5, CM Punk walks out on the WWE. It began with CM Punk's controversial pipe bomb. Punk cut an extremely realistic promo on the microphone that blurred the lines between reality and fiction. That promo, combined with one of the longest championship runs ever, turned Punk into a true star. Then, something changed. In early 2014, he packed his bags and left the WWE with no reasons given and no public address. Punk later recorded a podcast with Colt Cabana exposing some of WWE's practices he deemed unprofessional and unacceptable, especially in regards to medical treatment and the excessive use of Z-Packs. Things only got worse between Punk and the company, with WWE sending Punk his notice on his wedding day and the two parties eventually meeting in court. Number 4, Owen Hart's death. It was supposed to be a standard stunt, but what occurred that night in 1999 was one of the worst tragedies in the history of wrestling. At the time, Owen was playing the role of the Blue Blazer, a goofy superhero-style character. For his theatrical entrance, Hart was going to be lowered from the rafters on a harness to a safe level, at which point he'd get tangled up in the wires, release himself, and fall ungracefully into the ring. Unfortunately, something went wrong partway through his descent, and Owen came crashing down over 50 feet. He died not long after. Perhaps the most controversial aspect about this tragedy was the fact that the WWE decided to continue the event that night. Number 3, the Saudi Arabia Tours. You may have heard about this one from your favourite news outlets, because it's big and it's happening right now. In 2018, WWE began its 10-year deal with the Saudi General Sports Authority to air live shows from the country. The events were controversial enough already, with the outright refusal to allow women to compete due to limited women's rights in the country, and many have also accused the shows of being thinly veiled propaganda. But once the news broke out about Jamal Khashoggi's murder by Saudi agents, WWE found themselves in the hot seat. Many called for the company to tear up their agreement and cancel their upcoming events, but WWE went on business as usual. Many of the WWE's top talents, including Daniel Bryan, John Cena, and Kevin Owens, have since refused to work at these shows, and it's not hard to see why. Number 2, Montreal Screwjob. This one's full of he said, but here goes. Bret Hart, one of the most popular men in WWE at the time, was feeling underappreciated by his company and boss man Vince McMahon, so he chose to jump ship for WCW in 1997. McMahon wanted Bret to forfeit the championship before leaving, but Hart was allegedly unwilling to drop the title to one of his biggest real-life and on-screen rivals. As a result, a non-scripted ending was executed, with Shawn Michaels putting Bret Hart in his own signature submission, the sharpshooter, and the referee calling for the bell. The relationship between Bret Hart and the WWE was tenuous for years because of this screwjob, but they've kind of made up these days.
And not to mention that when he got screwed for the first time, and that, Bret was just livid. He was just completely hot, pissed off, and just swears on on live television. We're talking about live on USA channel, and just going off like BS. Goddamn, that was that considered that was as a high rating of it because it was still an attitude era. Jesus.
Quite at the end yet, almost there though. Just be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Alright, back to business. Number 1, the death of Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was one of the most technically proficient wrestlers ever. His illustrious career culminated in a feel-good championship win at WrestleMania 20. But when Chris Benoit no-showed an event in June 2007, his friends knew something was amiss. By the time police eventually entered the Benoit home, they found the wrestling star, his wife, and 7-year-old son dead from an apparent double murder-suicide at Benoit's hands. Though the motive for this tragedy died with Benoit, theories including steroid abuse and brain damage have been suggested. Though it led to a shockwave of changes in the company's drug policies, this remains the most tragic controversy in the WWE's history. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo.
In true story, when I was riding with my dad, and that's when I heard the news about what happened to Chris Benoit, and it was hard to accept it because it was like that can't be that couldn't be true. But the news was worldwide, and it was just so dark and deep. And you think that I can have what it takes to be in the wrestling business? Hell no. I don't want to get shot by one of those steroids. Cause you get pumped up, but in reality, there are going to be some side effects and dire consequences of your actions, because I think I understand that you experience having a bad liver and brain damage. I mean, you will be completely just out of there. I mean, you just lost your shit, and you would hurt somebody and without even realize what you just did. To Chris Benoit and his family, that will definitely, I mean, you are in the heavens right now, but you are in a better place, to say the least. So many controversies. Some are just flat out silly. And most of all, what the hell were they thinking? And yet, this big guy, and he was 17 years old. I didn't see that coming. And the fact that this was ECW. He should have realized what he was getting himself into. Well, anyways, I think that would be all for tonight. So I'm going to wrap this up. And Storm Shadow, thank you for this clip, because Jesus, good Lord. So let's leave it a likes, and also leave a comments down below. If you have any requested videos that you want me to react, I'll be more than happy to do so. And with that, Mighty signing out. But I will catch you all in the next video. So, good night, folks.